Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome all of you back to my next The 5 list. I present to all of you here on YouTube, and this is going to be the second of the 3 Smash Brothers The 5 lists in terms of predicting and speculating certain categories of characters. The first one was the 5 Nintendo newcomers that are very likely to be in Super Smash Bros. 5. This one is going to be the 5 third-party characters that are very likely to be in Super Smash Bros. 5. Now, that doesn't mean they're guaranteed, but I'm saying very likely as in they have super high percent chances of being in. If you see my Nintendo list, at the end of it, I gave percent chances for my 5 characters on that list, for like what percentage I think chances they are very likely to be in. This one is going to be the third-party characters, and this one's a little bit more challenging to kind of grasp, because when it comes to Nintendo characters, you can look at what new Nintendo games are out, what characters are relevant, what games are recent, what characters are recent, and you can kind of go along with that. Third-party characters are about the same thing, but it's kind of hard to grasp that, because you kind of have to see which ones are closely tied to Nintendo, which ones have history with Nintendo, which ones are more relevant now, blah, blah, blah. It's a little bit more in-depth than the Nintendo characters, because Nintendo characters have their own characters, as the company's own characters. Sakai's, the company, Nintendo, their own characters. Third-party characters, you kind of have to also not just have the character be relevant, recent, and close to Nintendo and whatnot. You kind of have to go to the company and get their agreement to be in the game too. So the companies have to work together. So it's a little bit more challenge. So, but I think I came up with 5 characters I feel have very high chances for choices for third parties in the new Super Smash Bros. Game on Switch. And the first one goes to Rayman. Rayman was heavily speculated to be in Super Smash Bros. 4, to the point where he even got a trophy in the game, and people were, faking artwork to try to, make it like a speculation predictions, like a leak kind of thing for him to even be in there. But like his potential chance of him being in there is kind of likely, really, if you really think about it, because Rayman has been with Nintendo ever since like the second game. The first one was on like the Saturn and the PlayStation 1, but ever since like the second one, all, if not most, of the Rayman games are on Nintendo. So he has such close ties to Nintendo, and they put Rayman Legends on the Switch. The next new Rayman game is very likely to be on the Switch, and Nintendo has a pretty decent, relationship with Ubisoft. So the chances of Rayman being like an Ubisoft rep, if they ever get one, is very likely. They could also go for the Rabbids. But Ubisoft, please don't go for the Rabbids. I know you had the Rabbids Mario crossover on the Switch and whatnot, which should have just been a Rayman crossover with Rabbids characters in it. But please don't go for them. Please go for Rayman, because he's like your main character from that series, because the Rabbids kind of spinned off from him. So he is the main character of that franchise. He has such close ties to Nintendo, recency on Nintendo with like Rayman Origins on the Wii and Legends on the Wii U and the Switch. The next one's probably likely to come out. He got a trophy in Smash Bros. 4. He's still utilized. He's still one of Ubisoft's mainly used franchises. He has an original moveset. He has historical character, like I said, that has close ties to Nintendo. A lot of people want to see him. So I would say, you know what? He has a chance of being in because of the close ties to Nintendo and the franchise on Nintendo, the company in the franchise. An interesting, unique moveset that people like to see, and the chances of his game still coming to Nintendo, which is the reason why they want to include him because of advertising, is very likely. So Rayman is a potential choice for a newcomer third party in Super Smash Bros. 5. Jeez. Okay, the second choice goes to an indie character in Shovel Knight, which doesn't have as close ties as, say, like Rayman, which the paper's down there somewhere. But it's there. Like, it's a big indie game from Yacht Club Games that's been heavily pushed on everything since its inception. It's been on, with Nintendo, it's been on the Wii U, it's been on the 3DS. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Switch version either out already, because I'm not paying attention to a lot of the indie games yet on the Switch, or it's coming out soon. It may eventually get a Shovel Knight 2, which would be on Nintendo regardless, because the game's popular there, and it's one of the heavily within the last couple of years and popular pushed indie characters. So if we ever get an indie character from as a third party character in Smash Brothers, the likelihood that that character would be Shovel Knight is pretty likely, because there's only a battle between 2 of them, really. I mean, there's other characters that are possible, but their percent chances compared to Shovel Knight and this other character is kind of not as highly likely. It's lesser down on a likely scale. But Shovel Knight would be cool. It's a cool retro-inspired, like 8-bit type character, 16-bit, 8-bit, like hard platforming type game with cool action. Like think of like Mega Man and like Mario just got together and had a fusion of a game with like classic hardcore, super hard, detailed difficulty from like a 8-bit, 16-bit game. It's a really fun game, awesome music. He has awesome moves that you can use from all his little treasures he can get, all his little magic stuff he can get to the shovel. Obviously, he has a unique, distinct moveset. A lot of people are requesting him, and he has close ties to Nintendo, even if it is more recent within the last couple of years. He is likely, if there's an indie character in there, if they decide not to go for indie characters, he is almost practically just done. But if they decide to include an indie character as a third-party character, he is at least has a chance. Number 3 goes to a character that has more of a history with Nintendo than Shovel Knight, but not as much as Rayman, dating all the way back to the Wii. Travis Touchdown from the No More Heroes franchise. The first 2 games were on the Wii, so the series is relevant to Nintendo. They only kind of did a port of the first one, HD port, to like the PS3 and whatnot. And then now we have Travis Strikes Again, coming to the Switch. The series is back. The likelihood of Suda51 giving us a No More Heroes 3, possibly on the Switch, is big. It's a third party in recent memory that has such close ties to Nintendo that if they pick a new third party, like they kind of put Bayonetta into Smash Bros. 4, Travis Touchdown's kind of in there as well. And he would be an interesting character just to see, because he has the moveset potential, because he has his beam katana wrestling moves. He can turn into a tiger. I've said that a million times in the previous video. And various other different things he can do. And he has distinct looks that you can get the costumes. He has popularity. People request him more so now than they did, I think, in Smash Bros. 4, because, he's being brought back. The last No More Heroes game came out in 2010. So when Smash Bros. 4 came out, like 2014, it was like 4 years since the last game. But it's closer now that he's more relevant and recent because we have a new game coming out for him. And Suda51 wanted Travis in the last game, and I think him and Sakurai are kind of friends, just like how Kojima and Sakurai are friends. We got Snake and Brawl. So the likelihood of him being in there, if not for relevancy and recency and popularity on Nintendo, like he's a new game coming out, he's relevant now and recent now, there's potential there because the creators kind of are friends. And the chances of us advertising a No More Heroes 3, 4, and the series continuing on the Switch and future Nintendo consoles is very likely. So he on this list, I view him as the least likely of the 5 I have on this list, but he still has a chance because of relevancy, recency, some popularity, moveset potential, the franchise history on Nintendo, and friendship between creators. The 4th one on this list goes to the other indie character, which you should already know who it is because I have this character also on my top 10 list, is Shantae, who, unlike Shovel Knight, does have a little bit more history with Nintendo, dating all the way back to the Game Boy Color in 2002, has had 3 games since then, so 4 games in total, all of which have been on Nintendo. So she is the indie character that has the most history with Nintendo and is the most relevant with Nintendo. She has moveset potential for days, from her genie magic to her pirate stuff. Her franchise is heavily pushed by Nintendo, heavily pushed by her creator, and she has a lot of fans that request her too. I don't know if they picked one or the other who they would pick, because I think both Shantae and Shovel Knight are very likely for totally different reasons, so they're about equal to me. I personally, like I said, on my top 10 list, the reason why I had her at number 2 was Shantae, but they can go with either or unless they want to go for both. But both of them have about equal chances too. I'm just saying Shovel Knight's more, I think, relevant, in terms of, I think, push from the company, but in terms of relevancy, closely tied as an indie character to Nintendo history for about 16 years now. That's Shantae, and she has moveset potential. She's popular. The franchise is still going. We don't know yet when Shovel Knight 2 is happening, but Half Genie Hero is coming, from Shantae. The 4th game is on the way. So of us seeing her in terms of being more relevant in terms of a game coming out, she at least is in that camp, and I personally think she should be in, and I think she has a very high chance if we get an indie character, because I think she's a little bit more relevant in terms of the franchise being pushed forward and getting sequels than Shovel Knight. I'm not saying Shovel Knight's not likely, but Shovel Knight, I think, really needs a second game before he really gets in. But I think right now, besides that thing, which probably put Shantae above him a little bit, I think they're about equal in terms of if we get an indie character. Because Shovel Knight did obviously get a Mii costume in Smash Bros. 4, so anything's possible. And the 5th character on this list, and another character just like Rayman that has a long history with Nintendo, dating all the way back to like the NES and the Super Nintendo, and that goes to Bomberman. And I have this character at the top of my list. I am so nostalgic for Bomberman because I grew up with Super Bomberman on the Super Nintendo and played various games since then. It's like we have a character right here that has such close ties to Nintendo, has been with them since the NES and Super Nintendo, had games on the DS, games on the N64. There was a GameCube game, the Wii got a game or two. Recently, Super Rayman R on the Switch. It is still heavily pushed by the now Konami, but Hudson Soft originally, and it's a third-party character for Nintendo that has as close ties to them as Mega Man does, as close ties to them as Sonic technically does, or even Pac-Man, or characters we don't have yet like Sonic Belmont. Close ties to Nintendo right there. So in terms of being a historic third-party character, he's got it. In terms of relevancy and recency, there's numerous games spanning across all Nintendo systems, and he's still relevant now because Super Rayman are on the Nintendo Switch. And you got an interesting moveset. He's super popular. People heavily speculate he should be in, heavily want him to be in. I think the only thing hurting his chances now of him being a third-party character for us to get in the game is Konami. Konami I don't get them anymore. We used to have Konami in, with Snake being represented with Metal Gear Solid, and he was cut because probably relationships with Konami, and it was mostly a Hideo Kojima thing, and he's not even working for the company anymore. So the chance of us ever even getting Snake back is probably very unlikely until we get more Metal Gear Solid on Nintendo. And if they push a character from them, they probably would push, I don't know. Would they push Sonic Belmont? Would they push Snake back in? Would they push Bomberman? See, it's very weird to predict him also because Konami are a bunch of douches. They're assholes. The company is just, I don't get them and their stupid pachinko machine thing. But I think the closest character they have, even though it's originally a Hudson Soft character, that has a close ties to Nintendo besides, obviously, Simon Belmont and Castlevania, is Bomberman. And I think, since we don't see in the foreseeable future anything Castlevania related, we haven't seen for a while, except for the original creator making Bloodstain now, and that's not Castlevania, at least not an actual Castlevania game, and Bomberman's still getting games, they would probably heavily pick him if we got one. So it's just stupid bull crap in this gaming industry between companies and stuff. I don't really know. But those are my 5 third-party characters I feel are very likely to be in Super Smash Bros. 5. And they are, Rayman, which I think has about, because of his relevancy in games he has lately, about a 90% chance. As long as Ubisoft doesn't screw him over for Rabbids, he has about, I think, a 90% chance. Shovel Knight has about an 85 to about a 95% chance, depending on if they want indie character or not, and how heavily he's pushed, which goes back to Shantae as well, about 85 to 95% chance as well, depending on indie character or not. Travis Touchdown's probably the lowest character on this list, so I'm going to put him in about the 80 to 85 range, maybe about 75 to 85 range, because he has a new game now, but he's probably less historic than some of these characters, less heavily pushed some of these characters. But it depends on if we get more games from that series in the future going forward and whatnot. And we did get Bayonetta, so he has at least a chance because of mature characters like that. And Bomberman, I'd say about 85 to 95% chance as well. None of these characters are 100%. Like on my Nintendo list, I basically said a Fire Emblem 16 character and Rex were like about 95 to 100%. It's kind of hard to put 100% range on a third-party character at this point. But yeah, those are my characters. Putting the comments to what I think. Do you guys think these third-party characters are very likely? Do you think they're very possible to be in the game? What third-party characters do you think are very possible to be as characters in Super Smash Bros. 5 on Switch? Third-party characters you think have very high chances. Characters that have such close ties to Nintendo. Characters that are still relevant to this day and are still heavily used to this day on Nintendo. Or at least likely could come back to Nintendo in the future game on the Switch or something. Put in the comments what you guys think, and let's discuss it there. My name is Sniping Fun. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to, and have a lovely day. And see you all later in the 3rd video. Bye.